Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're doing the annual graphic novel review, not review, sort of collection video. And so basically, I'm just going to go over every graphic novel I have. Not in too much detail, but just sort of a showcase, as it were. I really like this sort of video. I really like doing them, but I also really like watching other people's collections. I like seeing what other people have and looking at it all put together on a shelf, seeing the way things come together. I think it's really nice. I did a video on my Atari 2600 collection last month. So this is one of my first trade paperbacks ever. This is X-Men First Class. Ignore the toilet flushy sound in the background. That's just a pipe that runs through this room, if you could even hear that. So this is, Doctor Strange actually shows up in this book. It's really good. They fight Mephisto at one point. It's solid stuff. Also I have this old, from the 90s, this collected edition of a few X-Men issues, including the Hulk 180 and Hulk 181, which is cool. I believe I got that for free as well, so that's swell. This one here is a book called Spider-Man Back in Black. It's not technically accurate. It's not the Black in Black story. He doesn't really wear the suit. It's just there's a backup story in this book where he wears the black suit. And I think the Spider-Man 3 movie was coming out around the time this was released. So that would have been the thing to do, I suppose. This features the story where Peter Parker returns from Battleworld. I believe that was the Amazing Spider-Man issue 252. In fact, I'm pretty definite on that. And so that's cool as well. It has backup stories and all that. Character bios. Oh yeah, Iron Spider stuff. Sort of goes over what the armor is comprised of. So this was the armor built by Peter Parker and Tony Stark. It goes over organic webbing. Sort of like a history of Spider-Man. Anyway, this is the issue called Homecoming, and it came out way back in 83 or something like that, and it was technically the first ever appearance of the black suited Spider-Man costume, the symbiotic costume, even though oftentimes Secret Wars number 8 is credited as the first appearance. Spider-Man 252 was released first. It's just that Secret Wars number 8 takes place earlier in the timeline and was released later on in that same month. This is really cool. This is a Defenders Masterworks, Marvel Masterworks edition. Those books are damn expensive, but I got that one for $5, so definitely worth that. The stories are really good in it too. It's not the Defenders you would know from Netflix or anything like that, but it's a good team. Doctor Strange, actually, funny enough, is in that as well. Iron Man Demon in the Bottle, classic book. I think most Iron Man fans have read this book. Really, really good, solid material. Some of it is a little bit overrated. It's not the end-all, be-all of Marvel stories, but it is really solid stuff most of the way through. Speaking of solid stuff, Ultimate Iron Man is not that. The art's really cool in some places, but the book overall is really dumb. But I found this for $3 to $5, this hardcover edition of it, so I got it because it looks nice, and that's a kick-ass cover that I won't pull out because I'll have to redo everything. So this is the Amazing Spider-Man Election Day with the Obama cover. This is part of the Brand New Day era of Spider-Man. I don't know if Slott was the head writer on this or not. I don't think he was. He was not. But this was fairly around the beginning of Slott's time on the book. Here, I'll pull this out anyway. That's really cool. I really like the Ultimate Iron Man armor. This is perhaps my favorite piece in the collection. This is the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus. This has a lot of sentimental value with me because Ultimate Spider-Man is, one, my favorite comic book series, two, the comic book I grew up with very closely, and I, played the game several times over when I was a kid and still do to this day. Actually, I can beat the entire Ultimate Spider-Man video game without letting my Peter Parker die a single time, but I don't think a lot of people can say, but then again, not a lot of people play the game as much as I do. But yeah, I can get through the whole game without dying. And also, yeah, the owner of the comic book shop that used to be here, my buddy Sean, he gave this to me for Christmas one year. And so for that reason, it's got sentimental value with me as well. So I it's one of the best Christmas presents I've ever received, and I love it to death. This one I got for graduation last year. This is the Justice League International Omnibus. And so some folks ask for cars, some folks ask for like PlayStations and that sort of thing for graduation. I asked for a giant comic book. It was a good price too. I believe it was on sale at the time of my mother's purchasing the book. I believe it was like $90 something as opposed to like the $115 it was originally. It's really, really good. I actually I tweeted about this book when I got it, and DeMatteis actually tweeted back at me about it, and so that was really cool that he saw that, and I got a little bit of the warm and fuzzies, as it were, because DeMatteis is somebody whose writing I like a lot, and of course Giffen cannot be overstated with his importance in this series. So I've got volumes 1 through 3 of the New 52 Justice League run. Not because it's terribly good. Throne of Atlantis is pretty good. I like Aquaman, and Origin isn't terrible. The Villain's Journey is really boring, like dreadfully boring. But yeah, I got them for like crazy cheap. I think it was like maybe $10 for all of them or something like that. I can't recall exactly. Maybe it was $20 for all of them. Either way, it was really, really cheap. If you go back to like a previous collection video, I definitely say how much it was. And I think I'm spending a little bit too much time on each book, and I don't want to run out of memory, so I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. Superman New Krypton by Jeff Johns is pretty good. People give it a little bit of flack, and I can see why, but I really like the Jimmy Olsen stuff. Jimmy Olsen really comes into his own in this book. And of course, Watchmen, which you can see I'm rereading because I got a book called Watchmen Philosophy, and so I'm going to reread Watchmen, and I'm going to read that philosophy book written on Watchmen, and I'm going to reread Watchmen after that to see like how it changes my sort of perspective on the book. And I'll probably do a video about it. New Avengers Volume 1 Breakout by Brian Michael Bendis, terrific series. Avengers The Initiative Complete Collection Volume 1. I haven't read this yet, but it's sort of part of my Civil War collection, so to speak. Ultimates Volume 1 and 2. This is pretty badass. There's obviously some weird stuff in it, but it's overall pretty decent. Cataclysm, it's a pretty badass event. It's another Ultimates book. Ant-Man by Scott Lang. Ant-Man, like the early adventures of Scott Lang, the second Ant-Man. That's pretty good too. I'd recommend picking that trade if you can get it. Second Chance Man by Spencer, another good book. Although I don't like people treating Ant-Man like a loser. But whatever. Road to Civil War and Civil War. Daredevil Legends Volume 3, which collects the Man Without Fear miniseries. Obviously, one of the seminal Daredevil stories. It's really, really good. Daredevil Parts of a Whole is pretty decent stuff as well. Daredevil Redemption, Daredevil Father. I wasn't a fan of Father. Daredevil by Brew Baker is good stuff. Ultimate Daredevil is good stuff, although it misses some of the core elements of Daredevil, perhaps. Ultimate Daredevil is kind of a dick as well. Essential Daredevil, Volume 3 and 4. This is really good material. Some of the stuff in here, like Classic Daredevil, some of it is really cheeseball-y, but there's some really good stuff in there as well. Same can be said for old Doctor Strange books. Doctor Strange is a solid character with a solid mythos. I recommend you read some of the old material for that. Fantastic Four, Secret Invasion tie-in. Fantastic Four, New Departure, New Arrival, Volume 1. For the Matt Fraction series, which is pretty good. Drawn by, again, Bagley, who's my favorite artist. We've got 4 volumes of Ultimate Fantastic Four here. It's pretty decent stuff. Some of it's really good, some of it's just okay. Essential Ghost Rider, Girl Comics, just a bunch of... I saw this for like $2 a couple of years ago, and it's got a bunch of mini stories in it. I've read a couple of them, but I haven't really dived into it too far. Infinity Gauntlet, obviously one of the classic Marvel events, for sure. This is the complete collection in these 2 volumes of Little Spider-Man, by the way. This is the complete collection of the Luke Cage Power Man series, the Hero for Hire series. So this is issues 1 to 49 plus annual number 1. So altogether that's 50 issues, and then it goes into Power Man and Iron Fist. Good stuff. I recommend that. So check out that Anti-Venom. Isn't that awesome? It's a Marvel Select. Also, I've got like 15 or something, like comic book novels and stuff like that. And before I forget, I've got this Batman book down here. Batman the War Years, by put together by Roy Thomas. This basically covers Batman between the years like 1938 to 1945. He like fights Nazis and that sort of stuff. Obviously, I don't have room for all my books, so some of them are just in a pile. I've got the Spider-Man Vault by David Greenberger, and it's really good. Peter David wrote this book as well. It comes with a lot of memorabilia and really cool stuff. Also, there's a Marvel trivia book down here called Obsessed with Marvel. Actually won that for being the biggest comic book nerd at a comic book convention, yeah, I like to say, because I went to like a sort of massive trivia thing at my local comic book convention, and I won that book for knowing the most Marvel trivia. Oh yeah, Superior Spider-Man figure. It's a really cool one. I like that a lot. Blue Beetle and stuff. Alright. So, I've got 2 volumes here of Moon Knight, Essential Moon Knight, Volume 1 and 2. Little baby Groot, dancing baby Groot. This is Machine Man by DeFalco, Tom DeFalco. 4-issue miniseries, classic stuff, you know, in terms of obscure Marvel miniseries. Punisher and Captain America. Web of Spider-Man. This is actually really, really good stuff. I hadn't gotten around to this. I've had this trade for a while, but I haven't actually read any of it until fairly recently. I think I'm like halfway through the book. Yeah, a little over halfway through the book, and it's really good. Of course, you've got to read this, you know, several times. If you're a hardcore Spider-Man fan, this is where it all started. This is like the first 20 appearances of Spider-Man ever. By, of course, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, who are unfortunately both gone from us now. I've got volumes 1 through 4 of the JMS run on Spider-Man, which is, you know, has some really solid stuff, like really, really solid stuff, with a couple of blemishes. But you know, stuff happens. Brand New Day, Volume 1. Kraven's First Hunt. This is a really fun story. This has like Spider-Man and Daredevil teaming up. This is the Dan Slott run of Amazing Spider-Man, the 2015 volume. So I've got volumes 1 through 5 of that, and volume 1 of Spider-Man Deadpool, which is like kind of frustrating, but it's also pretty good. This series here is it has some good moments, but like the last 2 volumes are really annoying. Like, it's Clone Saga stuff again. It's called the Clone Saga Conspiracy, and it's really, really stupid. Anyway, Spider-Man Blue, a classic book, very touching, very good stuff. I'll cover that on the podcast at some point. Miles Morales, The Ultimate Spider-Man. This is the complete series of Miles Morales' run on Spider-Man. His first run, I should say, on as Spider-Man. So this collects issues 1 through 28 of Miles' series, as well as the supplementary content like the .1 issues, as well as Spider-Man, the miniseries 1 through 5, which is the whole series. I'm not going to try to pick it out, but there's Spider-Man, the official movie adaptation. I believe Peter David, and that's really, really solid stuff. The art looks really good in it as well. Jim Sterling's Warlock. This is, if you're into cosmic Marvel, you should definitely read the Warlock stuff. It's good. Classic X-Men. This is volume 2, so it's like issues 24 to 50 or something like that. This is the Grant Morrison run on X-Men, New X-Men, and so I've got volumes 1 through 7 of that. And there's some really, really, really good material in there as well. I recommend you read that. John Carter, The Gods of Mars. I haven't read this one yet. Batman Year One, obviously classic stuff. Bruce Wayne Fugitive is pretty decent. This is a Tom King run of Batman that I have so far. I Am Gotham and I Am Suicide. I haven't read I Am Suicide. I'm not really a big fan of Tom King's Batman, but I Am Gotham is pretty decent. Dead Man, which is a cool character. You should look into him. Doom Patrol, Volume 1 by Grant Morrison. Morrison does some really interesting stuff with Doom Patrol, and they've actually shown up in the Titans cartoon, or the Titans TV show recently, so I recommend you check out Morrison's run on the book, as well as Gerard Way, who's, I believe, running the current ongoing. New 52 Flash, Volume 1 and 2. I really love the Flash. I wish I had more of his stuff collected, but mostly I read the Flash in, like, single issue. Because they're just easier to get in there, less expensive. These 3 volumes are my Jeff Johns Green Lantern stuff. Ethan Van Sciver is a wonderful artist, as well as Ivan Reis. And Jeff Johns is a great writer, especially for Green Lantern and stuff like that. So I recommend you pick up any Green Lantern book written by Jeff Johns, because they are just spectacular. I have Green Lantern New Guardians, Volume 1 and 2. This covers Kyle, who is perhaps my favorite Green Lantern. He's really, really good. I believe Kyle's Green Lantern during these books as well. JLA New World Order and JLA... sorry, I just got a message from somebody. I'll get to that in a second. This is written by Roger Stern, drawn by John Byrne, of course, like an all-star team. But yeah, GLA. And then we have Infinite Crisis. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why there's DC stuff over there, like, I sort of separate my hardcovers from my soft covers, because it looks super annoying when they're together. It's a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, Jeff Johns' event, Infinite Crisis. Mixed opinions on that, obviously, all around. The really, really early Teen Titans stuff, Volume 1 of that. Jeff Johns' Teen Titans. Obviously, you can't tell I'm a big fan of Jeff Johns' work in DC. Superman, Panic in the Sky. I haven't finished this yet, but it's pretty decent so far. Superman was really weird in the 90s, though, man. Supergirl Volume 1. This is really, really fun. This is from, like, the 50s, and I recommend you read, like, old Golden Age Superman stuff, because it's a lot of fun. So now we're into the independent stuff. This is Alan Moore's Writing for Comics. Get back to you on that one. I haven't read it yet. I read the introduction. Deep Sea. I got this for free. I haven't read it yet. I'll get to it someday, though. Irredeemable Volumes 1 and 2 by Mark Waid. Mark Waid's a goddamn psychopath. But, I'll be damned if he doesn't tell a good story. Or at least he used to. He's sort of fallen off, many would argue, in recent years. Rat Queens, haven't gotten around to that yet, but it was super cheap. Sega's Sega Volume 1 through 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Pretty okay stuff. Pretty good, I would say. I'll have to read them again because I haven't read them in a good long while. But I remember really liking them back in the day. Valiant, this old like Valiant stuff like Robot Fighters rather, Magnus, Dr. Solar, stuff like that. Walking Dead Volume 1 and 2. Walking Dead gets really stale and uninteresting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the official guide to the Ninja Turtles universe and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the collection. Oh yeah, this I got to recent. Cool guy. This I got recently as well. This is really cool. This is this is Batman in his battle armor from The Dark Knight Returns. Another novel based off comics. It's a Superman novel. Awesome. New 52 Aquaman on an Infinite Crisis, or a Crisis on Infinite Earth stand. Yeah, that's really cool, I think. Anyway, so this video is probably going to get a lot of views before next year, like over the course of the year. So I'd like to thank you for watching. These do really well. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot, actually, over my reading pile here, because I'm doing a podcast hopefully fairly soon with Nerdicane. This should have been in my X-Men stuff. But yeah, of course, the classic Chris Claremont material. I've got Days of Future Past here, which would go right snug between Morrison's run and the classic run. And yeah, this is really good. I recommend this a lot. And Bone by Jeff Smith, which is a very generic name. But yeah, that's good stuff as well. I guess I should show you while we're at it, I guess I should show you like my manga and stuff. So I don't have very much manga at all. It's not that I don't like manga, it's just that I just don't get around to it, because I've got so many comic books to read. This is really cool. This is my collection of Marvel Visions, which is essentially a Marvel Comics magazine written by fans, which I think is really cool, and I wish it was still around. It was eventually bought by Marvel, I believe, unfortunately. It kind of ruins the integrity of the book, but whatever. So Black Butler, Dead Man Wonderland, this is really good. I Am a Hero, slow burn, but very good. The Omnibus, so that collects the first 2 or 3 volumes of that. Naruto, the movie, manga, and One Punch Man Volume 1 and 2. I'm not a huge fan of One Punch Man. It's okay, but it's not like my cup of tea, surprisingly. I like, a hero who actually has conflict and that sort of stuff, like in battle even, and obviously One Punch Man does not have much of that going on. And it kind of makes the book uninteresting, and the stakes are always super low. And I get that it's a joke book, but I'm not really into all that sort of thing so much. But yeah, anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah, I'll mention this briefly. I'm reading the goddamn Clone again. So right now I'm reading Return of Cain, which is a 4-part story that never really gets resolved. The Clone Saga is batshit crazy, guys. It is insane. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. This is fun. I'll do an NES collection video as well soon, so stay tuned for that. Talk to you guys later. Bye.